here I am with my friend Greg DeMarco, and we're back for another session of our podcast where we talk about sales conversations and different things. And recently we've been going through the book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell. And today we're having a look at the law of consistency. I think that's a big challenge for salespeople and particularly realtors. And one of the reasons why I think it's a big challenge for realtors is because to be consistent is a key to being successful. But when you're your own boss, how are you successful? And I'm going to let Greg DeMarco answer that question.
Okay, thanks for that introduction, Don. Yeah, well, consistency is important. And I think, and we've talked about this before, and I think that consistency is paramount in success in sales or whatever it is we do for a lot of reasons. You know, the ebbs and flows and the valleys that salespeople experience through a year, where they're up, they've got some great sales, and then they're down, and then they're up, and then they're down. And everybody kind of goes through that. But I think one of the things that actually cures that is consistency and consistency in everything we do. Once we get a pattern in place, we need to follow it. And I think that's what happens is we don't. And then we get these ebbs and flows of our performance, our results, which are up and then they're down and then they're up and we can't figure out why they're down. And a lot of it has to do with the consistency of what it is we're doing in our day-to-day routines. That's what I think about it anyway.
I remember this one guy, a couple of stories here about realtors. And one of the guys in our office, he was having a tough time not making many sales. He'd go buy something. So he thought, okay, that's going to put the pressure on. And I don't recommend that strategy, but he would go buy something, like he'd buy a new car or something like that. So all of a sudden he has a huge big payment he's got to make. So that would help him be consistent because he was motivated because he wanted to keep his car, right? So again, not a recommended strategy for trying to maintain your consistency. I had another really good realtor. Like his clients loved him or love him because he's still in the business, and he would struggle mightily for about a couple months, and then he'd wind it up, and he'd be really really busy, and then he'd feel comfortable, he'd feel relaxed, and then he'd like to coast. And so he'd coast until he didn't have any more deals in the hopper, and then he'd kind of complain about lack of business, and then he'd realize that it was because he'd been taking time off and hadn't been consistent with his business, and he'd wind it up again and do a whole bunch more business. But I don't know that yo-yo type of an effect, or that yo-yo type of doing business is good for your stress levels, because when it's not going good, it can be pretty stressful. So how would you, what would you say about that, Greg? I mean, do you think that those are common to salespeople?
Well, I think that's what it is you wind her up and you get going, you have all these sales, and then you think, I can coast for a little bit now.
Take a little time off.
Things are good. Yeah. And then next thing you know, because it usually takes, when you start winding that wheel, it takes a little bit before the momentum comes. And so sometimes you don't realize that. So when you let the momentum go off, now you got to take extra effort to get it going again. It could be another 2-3 weeks or a month before you start seeing anything.
Yeah.
And I think, consistency really, look, I think it helps building trust is one thing, Consistency builds trust with clients and customers. They know they can rely on you to get something done. And when you deliver on your promises and you meet your deadlines and you provide a high level of service, you start to establish that reputation for reliability. And I think that's trust is a key factor in your performance, your sales, your job, whatever it is, your friendships, your relationships. I think that if they find you reliable and you've done a good job for them, they're more likely to buy from you again.
Yeah, I would agree. Brian Buffini, one of the mentors in real estate, well-known trainer and had a very, very successful real estate career. He basically says you have to do calls, notes, and pop buys. and then you control your habits, your attitude, and your skills. And those six things, were key, are a key factor in a realtor becoming successful or being successful or remaining successful. And I remember John Maxwell talking about his rule of five. I don't exactly remember what John's five things were, but his rule of five was, he had five things that he did every day. I know he would take notes. He would catalog different things, and he would read a lot and do different things. But he had five things that he did every day. And so people, he makes, I mean, of course, John Maxwell, when he tells the story, it's funny, right? So if you want to find out what his rule of five is, watch some of his videos. But or maybe Greg can fill us in there. But you have that rule of five. You do what is it that you have to do every day to give you that consistency? Because if you're consistent, you're going to have a consistent flow of income. Is one of the
Yeah.
big attributes or big benefits of being consistent.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's just it. I can't tell you what those five rules are off the top of my head, but developing your expertise is something. If you're consistent in your learning and your skill development, that's something. Being able to adapt to change. Consistency doesn't have to be a rigid thing. It involves being consistently adaptable. So if something you run into something, you're able to handle it. You're disciplined enough to be able to figure it out. Building momentum. Consistency creates that momentum, right? And I just think that's extremely important. You don't want to lose that momentum. We just talked about that a few minutes ago. But I think it enhances your customer relationships. And that's key. I think the consistency in your communication stand, the way you communicate with people, and the service helps to build that lasting relationship with your clients. I think these are all very key things, and I think the last one to add to that would be, personal development. Consistency in personal development is vital to your sales success. Improving your communication skills, your what they call these days emotional intelligence, understanding the buyer psychology, understanding the different personality types. That these are all, I think, key, in your success as a salesperson, or just in your success in whatever it is you're doing. Consistency in various aspects of sales, from trust building to skill development, adaptability. All these things are extremely important in getting to a result that you strive for.
Yeah, I think when we're consistent, people know what to expect. and and
Exactly.
and they don't people when they're buying, I mean, particularly when they're buying houses, they don't like to be surprised about things because it can it can be pretty major, and if you kind of miss something, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you about this, so it doesn't
Yeah, this big hole in your roof.
doesn't go over very well, if you're not consistent. If you're not consistent with, getting all the details, if you're not consistent with, being on top of things, people or not consistent. One of the things that drives me nuts is when people don't return their calls,
Yeah.
and that's part of being
Yep.
consistent is, those little daily habits, like return your calls, return your text messages, return your emails, show people that you actually pay attention and that you're in the game, and I think that's an important thing about consistency.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. John Maxwell also tells a story about, if you went out, if you had a tree in your front yard and you had your axe and you went out every day and took one swing and
Yeah.
chopped your tree, what's eventually going to happen to the tree?
Well, it's going to fall down, right?
Every day, but you have to do it every day. I mean,
That's right.
and chop, take one swing, chop, and then you go in and you sharpen your axe. I think that's the other thing that you can use with that analogy is you chop, sharpen your axe, chop, but you only have, and it'll fall down every time if you do it every day, but if
Yeah.
you don't, if you're not consistent, it's not going to fall down.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I mean, that's a good analogy because he's used that quite a few times, and it's a good way to understand. Look, everybody's looking for a quick fix, to their life, to whatever it is they're doing. And it doesn't exist without hard work and perseverance and being consistent in the things that we do. And I think that analogy of the chopping the tree down and sharpening the axe is really good for understanding that you just need to be consistent in the things that you do that are going to work for you to bring the results you're looking for into your
Yeah,
life.
and those things that we need to do are going to be different for for different types of business, right? I mean, as a realtor, the things that I need to do are I need to call people, I need to send personal notes, and I need to see people. We need to, calls,
Yep,
notes, and pop-bys. We need to do that all the time because our most important role is to meet people and build relationships. And
exactly.
if we're not haven't figured out how to consistently meet people and build relationships, our business is going to fall off. We
Yeah.
might, I think you like that saying, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, you know.
Yeah, that's a good saying. I like that one.
But the thing is that the a squirrel is consistently in the fall looking for food, and it's hiding it, or it's storing it somewhere. We live in a condominium. We're on the third floor, and there's a deck. Our deck is the roof of the commercial area below us. So it's a big deck, and then they have some big oak trees out, that line the street. So it's very, it's quite nice, and that. But the oak trees, the squirrel you'd watch the squirrel. He'd run up this oak tree. He'd grab a nut, and then he'd run down, take a look around to see if anybody was looking at him, whatever, and then he'd run over someplace, and in the planters around the building, he would plant these little nuts. So I always have to go through in the springtime. I have to go through, or probably it's later on in the summertime after they've had a chance to sprout. But I start to have to pull out all these oak trees that he didn't come back and get. But he planted the tree, planted the acorn, and now I got an oak tree trying to grow in my garden, and I don't want oak trees in my garden, so I got to pull them all out. But he consistently did that, and I have to consistently pull them out. But he would get results, right? And when you're consistent, you're going to
Yeah.
get those results.
Yeah, and I think that's really the look. It's not rocket science, but it's also not obvious to some people. And consistency is king. It just is. John Maxwell talks about it quite a bit, actually, in being a key ingredient to
Yeah,
success.
yeah,
And it's an important thing to talk about because if you want to get rid of those dips and growth spurts, a chart that looks like this to more of one that kind of goes like this in your sales figures, then consistency will smooth that line out.
yeah. I think we got to remember that what the results that we get today are um, in direct proportion to the consistency that we had 3 months ago. if I wasn't consistently
Yeah,
doing if I wasn't
exactly.
consistently doing the work that I needed to do 3 months ago, I'm going to have lousy results today. And if I'm not consistently doing what I need to be doing today, I'm not going to have good results in 3 months. And
That's
that's
right.
that's the way. I mean, that's kind of how we look at it. I think that probably relates to a lot of different sales careers as well. So what holds us back? What are some of the challenges that keep us from being consistent?
Well, I just think, there's lots of reasons why people aren't consistent. Procrastination could be one. Getting off your game and getting distracted is another. There's lots of reasons for it. I think that I think how we combat that is really to establish a clear pathway to what you want. Like, so what are your goals for your sales career? What do you want to do? Creating daily routines, I think is I think one of the reasons is people don't have daily routines. And you need to create those daily routines, and you need to prioritize your time. What are you doing when you come in the morning? Are you picking up the phone and dialing for dollars? Are you sending out a bunch of emails? What is it you're doing that gets you your leads and then gets you an appointment and then gets you a sale? Continuous learning and skill development is highly recommended. And regular, what we talked about in the last episode was regular self reflection. These are all key ingredients to consistency and incorporating that into your daily life or your sales career. I mean, what do
Well,
you think?
I think lots of times we don't want to do the hard work, because it's the
Yeah,
consistency,
it's
the
hard.
consistency part of it is the hard work. We're
Yeah,
like the hockey player that wants to score the goals, but doesn't want to back check to get the puck back, right?
yeah.
They just want to go down and try to score a goal, but they don't want to have to defend their own net. So they're not consistent, they're not playing a 200 foot game, to use a hockey.
Well, here's here's an analogy. That's a good. The hockey thing's a good analogy because there's a lot of sports fanatics out there. I used to have a job where I was selling, product A, whatever it was, and I consistently, in a bad way, I would sell and leave a wake of mess behind me for the counter to fix all the things that I didn't do right in the sales process. And I remember saying, they're like getting on my case, and I remember saying to them, look, I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to cause issues with the deliveries and all this. I just want to sell. That's all I want to do. I just want to sell. But I'll do my best. And I realized that what that was part of the problem. I was consistent at selling, and I was doing a great job at it. But why were my clients getting upset and some canceling their orders because I didn't do something that I should have been doing in that process? It was part of my job to make sure that the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. And hence that was the wake I was leaving behind me. I'd sell all this stuff, and then all this mess would be created because I wasn't doing the proper job of getting the I's dotted and the T's
Yeah,
crossed. So I created this mess for the back office.
yeah. So
Meanwhile, they're getting angry.
yeah, yeah. No, I get that. I know that the paperwork is one of those things that we need to be consistent with, and make sure you get it done right. That's usually why the organization that you're with wants you to hand in your paperwork right away, and that's a challenge for realtors. Some to do the paperwork. They just don't like doing it. But I think that I think um, I think that's one of the big things is they don't like doing it, and they think that's kind of boring, so they get bored with what they need to be doing consistently. But is there something else you can think of that would hold us back from?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the main culprit there is sometimes procrastination and not having a routine worked out for us. I think those are the main culprits. Sometimes the distraction, we've just got to, like, listen, sales is like anything else, it takes hard work. And, everybody says, oh, you sales guys have it all the best and this and that and another. But I mean, the reality is our job isn't easy, it's hard. It is. It's a tough job because you're dealing with people on a consistent basis. You're having to deal with lots of personality types, lots of demands, lots of unreal reasonable demands. It's not an easy job. I can tell you guys out there who's ever listening to this that if you're more consistent in your daily routines and you have goals set and you prioritize your work properly, um, and you reflect on what it is you're doing, then you're going to be able to create an environment that is healthy for your clients. You'll build a great relationship and you'll have a lot less stress because
Yeah,
of it. If you're consistent, people will see that you're reliable, and that'll build a lot of trust. And that's where the rubber hits the road. If your clients trust you, they'll come back to you for more and more and more. So if you're in the real estate industry and you're selling real estate and you treat those customers with kid gloves and you're consistent with them, they'll come back and they'll list their old house and they'll want you to find one to buy.
Yeah.
And it'll go back and forth. It's the same in the boat business. It's the same in selling furniture. It's the same as everything else.
Yeah.
That's kind of my take
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think there's the one thing I think we can do better all the time is to measure our results, measure what we're doing,
Yes,
because when we measure what we're doing, we're going to understand that what we're doing brings us those results. So that will give us the motivation, I think, to keep doing it, to be consistent with doing it. But without the measuring, you don't know what the results are going to be, right? So,
that's a really good point you just made there, Don, the measuring results, because people don't. They don't know how. They know inherently that something's not right, but you need you don't know what's right or wrong, or you don't know if you're losing if you don't measure those results and have some kind of a statistic. Like when there's a couple of jobs I had in sales, I took the time out and created an Excel spreadsheet and I wanted to know what my average day sales were. I wanted to know what my average product sale was. I wanted to know my average everything. And so that at the end of the day, here's how many leads I got in, here's how many things I sold, here's what I sold. So I knew all those numbers and those conversions. And then I also know, okay, what is my average day sale? And what is the average sale? And knowing that, I could see, okay, I can make more money if I just increase this percentage, or I can do this. But if I'm going down, and I don't measure that, how do I know exactly how much I'm going
yeah,
down?
I think, so it really, I think that measuring depends on what you're selling or what kind of business
Yeah,
you're in, because when you're selling houses, we don't sell one house every day. We don't,
yeah,
we're maybe, probably reasonable to say sell between one house a month and three houses a month. That's what,
but you do have your own metrics, though,
that's
right?
right. So what you look at is you don't keep score by how many houses you sell. That's the ultimate goal, is to sell the house. But you don't keep score by how many houses you sell, but you keep score by how many people you talk to, or you keep score
Yeah,
by how many doors you knocked, or you keep score by how many, whatever it is, whatever type of metric that you want to use, use something that's meaningful to you. Because if you keep score by how many houses you've sold, if you go into a dry spell and are counting how many deals you got, you could pretty soon get depressed, because you think, wow, you
yeah.
know,
You do a dry
yeah,
streak,
and you're
and you're
thinking,
like,
wow, like nothing's happening. But if you keep consistently doing, like swinging that axe, once a day, like what are the five things you got to do every day? What are the five things you got to do every day to be a realtor? Calls, notes, pop buys. That's three. For you, there might be something different, but calls, notes, pop buys.
yeah,
Work on your habits, your attitudes, and your skills. There's six things, that you can do
yeah. And
every
I
day.
I think that's really
Yeah,
important to mention. And listen, remember, I think that the key to start the key to starting consistency is to start small and gradually and build your efforts. I think it's about making steady progress over time. It's okay to adapt and refine your strategies as needed, but I think the goal is to maintain a commitment to your objectives, what it is you want to do, and take daily actions. I think that will contribute to your personal growth in sales. I think that's what's key.
yeah.
You want to keep growing, but you don't have to. Like, I'm not talking about changing the world overnight. I'm just talking about taking small steps that get you to where you're
Yeah,
going.
I like the word incremental growth. And that's what you're talking about, is incremental growth. Just make little changes along the way. And those little changes along the way produce way bigger results than what I think the saying goes that we overestimate what we can do in a day, and we underestimate what we can accomplish in a year. And,
Yeah,
and incremental growth is something that, just when you apply those principles, you're going to incremental growth and consistent incremental growth. You're going to see your career blossom. But I, I think I'll give you an opportunity to close out this session here, Greg, with your words of wisdom, or we can, if they just got
What makes what makes you think I've got any words of wisdom,
thought
Don?
maybe you used them all up.
Listen, I think that I always go back to the same thing when it comes to this sales game because I think people, I think it's a complicated situation and they get nervous. Like I can understand that, and I think really what most people need to understand is sales is just a conversation with people. That's all it is. And when you get consistent at the things that allow you to have those conversations with people, that's what the key to success is with sales. And don't psych yourself out thinking that I have to have the magic line. There's this really magical line that really will separate me from the rest of the pack. It's bullshit. All it
Meet,
is having a conversation, getting to know
yeah,
them. That's what it
yeah,
is.
meeting people, building relationships. That's,
Yep. And in the end, that's all people want and expect
yeah.
from you.
Well, thank you, Greg, for your insights and your words of wisdom. We'll just appreciate those, and we'll look forward to the next time we get together on a consistent basis. We try to do this every week. So there
We
we go.
do. We did it though. We did it today. We
Yeah,
almost didn't,
yeah,
but
we're a
we did
little
it.
later coming out from today than we were, but we got her done. So thank you, Greg,
We
and
got her done. That's
we'll
what
see
they
you all
say.
next time. So check out our contact information. You can check that in the remarks below, wherever. And I'm not going to point anywhere else because I have no idea where it's going to end up on the screen. So just look at the contents in the remarks below, and we'll have our contact information there if we can answer any questions or be of any help. So thank you very much, and we'll talk to you
See
soon.
ya.